it will be recording here shortly. So now we're on YouTube. We're live. So advertisement. I am actually seriously doing a Google Domination webinar series. We're going to take one Google piece at a time, and we're going to use that. We're going to start with Google Drive, Google Calendar, Google Docs, Google Sheets, and we're just going to go right on through them. And when I run out of stuff, then I'll quit doing it. But I'm going to do a weekly webinar. It's going to last about 40 minutes. So seriously, if there are things that you want to learn about Google, if you want to learn better how to use Google Calendar, I live off of my Google Calendar. So if I don't have it on my calendar, as my daughter says, if it's not on the calendar, it's not actually going to happen because I'm not going to know to be there. Literally on my calendar, if we go over here and I pull up my calendar, I actually have a reminder to start class. So it popped up just a minute ago, like at 4:29, because it reminded me. And I don't see it on there, but I'm in digital fluency. That's how I know where I'm going and what I'm doing. Taking my dogs to the vet tomorrow. So, you know, I use my Google Calendar a lot. So there's a lot to learn about everything that Google has. So just putting that out there, you should see an email about it here in the next few days. I'm going to send that out. So we're going to use this to test whether or not this is going to work, because this is how I'm going to do it. I'm producing media right now. This is just a test, but I'm going to produce media. The great thing about YouTube Live is that it records it. It has a chat here on the side so people can take part. I don't know what the limit on watchers is. It's probably, I want to say for like Google Hangouts Live, something like 50 people. But YouTube Live, because it's passive and you don't have other people that are coming into their cameras are using it, it's probably an unlimited number of people. So I don't expect that I'll have anybody watching ever. But we have a lot of staff on campus who could use Google a whole lot better. And so that's part of the reason I'm doing this. And there are a lot of students who, if they just learned a little bit, would never forget assignments. They would never miss class. They would never lose anything ever. I know Gilmore talked this week about backing up his hard drive. Everybody has like a secure backup of your hard drive, right? You plug it into your computer every day and securely back up onto an external hard drive. No, none of us do that. Yeah, we're using things like Google Drive. Stuff's in the cloud. So we don't need stuff like that because we have other things that are automatic. But I cannot tell you how many people I've talked to who have said, oh my gosh, I lost everything because now I'm going to start using Google Drive. Now I'm going to start using Google Drive. Should have listened when you took Ed Tech. Okay, so we have an agenda tonight. So let me get over here to Canvas. And we're going to see just how long this YouTube Live will go. I bet it will let me record the whole entire class, I suspect. So I'll have to download some sort of encoder software. There's one that's an open educational resource or an open resource. I'm all about open resource. I don't pay for anything unless I absolutely have to. I may pay for a book like I did with Gilmore because I want to support him as an author, but I don't buy software almost ever. I look for whatever the free thing is. And if you search YouTube Live and look for encoders, there's one down there that has it looks like a biohazard thing. And it's a free encoder. So basically you set it up with your YouTube Live account and you start your encoder and you go live. So I'm going to try that out, see how it works. It could be terrible. It could be a complete and utter disaster, but I'm going to try it out this semester and see what happens. So, okay, digital fluency. Let's go to this week. I think I mentioned to you guys last week that I changed things a little bit here for navigation. Is that easier navigation, having those big giant buttons at the top there? Is that all right? Okay, so we're on week 5. No, tonight is week 5. Tonight starts week 5.
Oh.
Yeah, so we read 7, 8, and 9 in Gilmore, and so we're going to talk about those. We're going to talk about Scratch, and I'm going to give you an opportunity to share with me the kinds of things that you're learning. Maybe pull up a couple of your projects from our studio. So if you haven't put something in the studio this week, put something there that you would not be afraid to share with the class. And then we'll talk about what's coming next week. All right, you good?
With just one thing, or?
Yeah, you can just, if you haven't already, you don't have to put everything in there. If you haven't already put something in there, go ahead and put something in there now before we get to that point. So you can kind of multitask while we're discussing Gilmore. So let's talk about chapter 6. I think I told you guys, my daughter one time, I really like Kindle app, and Jessica used the Kindle app and read an entire Harry Potter book on her phone, which was kind of crazy to me that she would do that on her phone. Where are my bookmarks? How do I see my bookmarks? Okay, I'll just scroll back. So go ahead. You want to pull chapter 6? And when I say pull up, I mean you can pull out your analog book, or you can pull up your PDF, or you can do however you have the book. And if you have some highlights in there, oops, I think I passed it. Why don't you take about 5 minutes and talk with your neighbor? What are the things that you found? Nope, I did not go too far. What are the things that you found in the book this week that just really stood out to you? Let's talk about chapter 7 to start with, okay? So we're on 7, 8, and 9. Yep. So now is your opportunity to talk. Sarah, we are on YouTube Live, so don't say anything in class that you wouldn't want to go out onto the YouTubes, okay? They came down to video us, so I said, okay, I'd set a camera up.
Oh, we're on live right now?
Yeah, we're on live right now.
He's doing a live stream.
Yeah, so I've got a live stream going right there. So it's just my face. It's boring. I'm just testing it out. But we're on live, and so you can hear everything that's being said in class. So chapter 6, talk to your neighbor, be prepared to share. Sorry, chapter 7. I'm going to get it right here in a minute. Chapter 7. What was interesting? What'd you get out of it? Chapter 7. Yeah, I know I did. We talked about 6 last week online, which you guys did a good job online, by the way. I very much appreciated the effort that you put into those discussion posts. You did a good job.
Do we all get hundreds?
Well, I violate FERPA if I told you that, but you just have to go and check and see. You all did a good job.
I don't think it was crazy.
I graded the other day, so I may not have everybody graded. I thought I graded after the due date, so you may check it and see.
You have.
Yeah, because I know I didn't reply to everybody. And that's just, yeah. And the total, but not
Grace.
Right.
Oh, I know. No, that's right. I gave you participation points. I didn't actually grade the actual.
Yeah.
That was your participation point.
Participation
Points for last week's class. That's what it was.
100.
Good. Yeah, there you go. Hundreds of 100.
100.
100. There's not much talking.
So we're talking about chapter 6.
7.
7.
Yeah, I said 6 twice, but I meant 7.
God.
Chapter 7.
You said 6. I'm not chapter 7.
Yeah.
I gotta remember what I said.
Well, 7 was what we're supposed to read. The discussions were for 4 through 6.
Yeah, last week we talked about 4, 5, and 6. This week we're talking about 7, 8, and 9.
For what?
Yeah, you're not sharing. But only if you share it, automatically saves it, so you don't have to save and then share.
Okay.
Where is it? I realize I haven't shared it yet. Whoa.
Hey, Carlos, how are you?
My backpack was
No
locked in
worries.
an office and I had to wait
You're good.
till the interview
Not a
was
problem.
over to get-
Not a problem.
Yeah, I had to wait almost. Yeah. Yeah. I went there like I saw y'all talking.
So you want to hit share? Yeah, and then you go to our. No, that's gonna be only for his studios. It's not gonna be for our studios. So, or do you follow the page?
It's like,
Okay, go to, you might, go to your thing. And see your profile. And we'll see, because you might have followed it last time. Yeah. Go down. No, if you go on Canvas, there should be a spot where it's. Oh, yeah. In the search bar, just type in digital fluency. GITAL. And fluency is FLUENCY. And it's easier if you want to find it's easier to hit follow because next time you'll be able to find it a lot easier. And you hit add and you pick out which one you want to add.
This one's basic.
Okay, and then go hit untitled. No, you've already, yeah. And then what were you having problems with? Just you hit maybe see inside
Isn't that thinking?
and scroll up. Okay, just scroll up. Scroll up. On this.
First of all,
So you don't have a starter code, so go to events.
Why?
But it's Louis.
So
okay,
hit
let's
either one clicked, and that'll start whenever you hit that.
Oh, no, just kidding.
So hit the green flag,
So
and now when
if
anybody
you were
does
bringing
that,
this, you'd be
it'll move.
hot.
So whenever you
I'm working.
have to start a new one, you can either hit that, or you can do the keys, so when you hit the space bar, they'll move. Or when a simple action, otherwise they aren't gonna move at all, because you don't have an action to start it. So it's kind of like, you can hit the accelerator all you want, but if your key is not in ignition, you're not going, or you don't put it in drive, you're not going.
Okay, that sounded like good discussion. I want to hear what you found interesting, moving, innovative. Yes, sir. Mr. Brooks.
Concept of, pursuing your online personality as a brand is interesting, The nature of identity is that you are what you put out there, so perception is reality, right?
That's
So
exactly
if you're
right.
online, it's entirely possible to be something different. Like my little sister, like 11, and she likes to pretend like she's Sky Jackson. She likes to get all these kids to send her their phone numbers. And I don't know, it's kind of manipulative, to be honest. But it's interesting that you can do it online. You know what I mean?
She just knows her market.
Something like that. I don't know, but,
Okay. Yeah. So being online as a brand is, it's interesting. It's a little scary as a parent. If I had an 11-year-old who was doing that, I'd be terrified. But if we could figure a way to monetize that, I would be all over it.
You can.
Mhm. You sure can. Very easily you can monetize that.
Those kids on YouTube make like 6 figures.
Yep.
I find it really interesting about the online presence, like specifically for me as a teacher and just me, like when I was younger, all like my Facebook and Snapchat and everything, it's all set to private. The only thing that's public is my Instagram, which I'm going to switch over to private. So you have to request me. That way students can't find it.
Yep.
But all of my information is just my name. So it can be easy to find me.
Yeah. So hold on one second. I did just send out you probably all just got an email. Don't click on that or it's going to cause like echo issues. So don't open the live broadcast right now, please. That's mainly for the people who were not able to make it. We have a couple of people out with the flu. So that's mainly for them. Yeah. So if you're going to be a teacher, if you're going to have any contact or influence with young people, you absolutely need to consider your brand. You need to consider what your social media policy is going to be, because you don't have to look too far into the news to find somebody who has contact with kids, who has had inappropriate messaging, who has, done something. The phrase that we use in teaching is called moral turpitude. And if you ever have an issue with moral turpitude, you're never going to do anything around kids ever again. Never. Unless you're able to hide that, which that does happen. But in theory, you won't. So
also use it for good.
Yeah.
Have a class Facebook page or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. Have class Facebook page. Make it so that you can, provide information to students without being their friend. One thing I'll just tell you, one thing you want to avoid is any sort of one-on-one conversation with a child that is not open and available for everyone to see. Complete transparency. If you're going to be a teacher, if you're going to have any contact with kids, complete transparency is the rule. It should be the rule. It is not the rule, but it should be. That's the gospel according to Bowie, which you can take that for what it's worth. If you had that and a dime, you'd have 10 cents worth. So somebody else, what else did you see that was interesting that you want to share with the class?
I saw that
Corey?
he said to respond when necessary. I thought was interesting. He said like when necessary, or when you need to clarify or correct what someone has said. It didn't say just like talk at someone. It said
Right.
respond when you need to.
That seems very different than what we typically see. I've got to have the last word. I've got to respond to every comment. I don't recommend that. Not at all. That's a good point. What else? Somebody else.
I like how we talked about having your own homepage. I know when I was in ed tech, you had us make our own webpage so we could show like this is what we've done. But when I was in recovery, I took it as far as making a website like to tell people what alopecia is. But when I read that part, I realized like I haven't ever updated anything.
Oh, okay.
And it's probably a good idea to keep updating that frequently.
Yeah. So if you have a brand, people see whatever you put out there. And just because you put information there doesn't mean that people will go there. But I guarantee you, if you don't put information there, if you don't give people a reason to go there, they will not go there. So you absolutely have to think in terms of content. That's a good point. Keeping things updated. I mean, I've looked at teachers' homepages that they made. They came to my they came to my website class at Putnam City for the one-day workshop or whatever. They made their website and it looks exactly like that, like 8 years later, 10 years later now. It's never been changed, not a single thing. You need to think of a website for yourself. If you're going to do something where you actually want people to see something about you or see stuff that you have, and I'm guilty of this, I'll show you an example. I have a website called profedtech.me, which is all of my social media is profedtech. And profedtech.me, number one, I need to change my background image because it's a little hard to read that on there. But I have not really updated this nearly as much as I should have. I used it for computer apps in education class. I wrote a little bit about millennials. I have a blog. I have my old blog. I have some about myself, that kind of thing. But having a place where you can show people who you are, what you're about, I have another place called about.me/Jay Bowie, which is in my signature. And this is just a place that is a free thing. You can get your own about.me, and it's a free thing. Got it. Okay, thank you. And you can just write a little bit about yourself. It gives you a little signature thing. You can put a picture there, and it's just kind of a landing page. You can link all of your media there. That's kind of a nice thing because that's brand. That you can make this look exactly like you want it, completely free. You put it into a signature, and it gives people another way to connect with you with all this social media down here. So that's something that you can do. That's something that's more static that you just want to keep. Yes. A Google evangelist. It's someone who does things like have a webinar about Google every week until he runs out of stuff to talk about. So I'm always proselytizing for Google. I'm always trying to convert people over to the Church of Google without being too sacrilegious. That's probably as far as I should go with that. So someday I'll tell you a joke about Google if I haven't already. But so anyway, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to open an incognito window because all of us know that Google uses our search history to influence what we see. So if you've been searching something on Google, I suspect if you've even been talking about something, I think Google's listening to me, because when I talk about something, or my FBI guy is there and he's sending information to Google, because Michelle said something the other week about an air fryer. Literally that afternoon, Facebook served her an ad for an air fryer, and she has never searched for an air fryer ever. Lo and behold, we bought an air fryer that was on sale at Walmart that day. It was 75% off, which, is just amazing. So now we are frying without oil. We are going healthy, and you can tell, the pounds are falling off. So all of that to say, Google uses your search history to serve you ads, to serve you relevant search results. They have an algorithm. It's top secret. That's how Google got started. That's where they started making their money, is from ad revenue. That's how they can serve all of these free things that Google gives us. So the reason I went to an incognito window is because I don't want to Google myself like under my name. I want to Google myself incognito. So why don't you Google yourself? If you are in Chrome or Firefox, you can Control or Command Shift in, and it should open an incognito window. If you don't know what incognito is, we're going to talk about this because this is part of being digitally fluent. Like, when would you want to search incognito other than for nefarious reasons?
When
right?
you're trying to find things employers might find.
Okay. Yeah. You want to search using like not your search history. This doesn't save anything in the history. It doesn't accept cookies. It's like searching with a completely clean search history. So if you're on a Windows, it should be Control Shift in, I think. Did that work for you?
Yeah.
Okay. And on a Mac, it's Command Shift in. And so just Google yourself.
Wow.
I'm going to Google myself and see what comes up. Never, ever, teachers, never do a live Google search in class. I'm not modeling responsible searching for you, but that's what my brand on the interwebs looks like. You should be able to see what your brand on the interwebs looks like. So my Twitter comes up first, my bio at Oklahoma State, SNU, faculty and staff, LinkedIn. So those are all good things for my brand. Let's look at some pictures. Oh, there we go. That's my picture. Jody sings Bowie. No, that's David Bowie. That is not me. That is not Jody singing Bowie. That's interesting. That's my son and my brother-in-law. I have no idea why that picture is a related picture, but that's a picture on Flickr, and that's my son like 10 years ago and my brother-in-law like 10 years ago, and that's David Bowie right there. That picture right there is a picture that I took of the Grand Canyon. So that's my image as well. So those are related. This is from my Instagram over here. So yeah, it's kind of interesting to see. There's my kids right there. There's my lovely wife. These are all from Instagram, which is kind of interesting. No idea what that is. This is another Twitter that I own. This is me as Teacher of the Year. This is something I posted. So yeah, it's interesting to see what your brand looks like on Google. I have pretty, okay. All right. So that's the thing. If you don't have a brand, when an employer goes to look for you, what are they going to find?
Nothing.
Is that good or bad?
Depends.
Discuss. Take 2 minutes and discuss with your neighbors.
Great.
If an employer searches and cannot find you as a brand, is that good or bad? Support your opinion. Be willing to support your opinion.
By brand, what do you mean?
So like you.
They
are
do a
my
Google
brand,
search.
right?
What do they find?
Oh, you can see me, kind of, but
You can't.
So if they couldn't see you, if they searched and they couldn't find you,
oh,
they saw nothing about you. Talk with your neighbors, good, bad, indifferent. Be prepared to support your opinion.
Something's wrong with
More
you.
talking, less looking.
I think it depends on what you're looking on. Like, because if you can't find Tyler Oakley, his brand is good. Yeah. I mean, but like for me as a teacher, do I necessarily want my students to know that I went to Domination this weekend? That would be more of that. Or whatever.
I think if you don't, I guess it's up to the teacher to have a handle that situation.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of depends on who you are. So if Kim Kardashian and you couldn't find her online, that literally kills her entire personality. For me. For you. And it also depends on what you find. There's a difference between my Pinterest and my LinkedIn. So I may want an employer find my LinkedIn, not
If you haven't had an opportunity to talk, you need to talk now.
Kind of weird
I want to see you, it's just and then of the internet and how
Okay, so talk to me. If your employer cannot find your brand, is that good? Is that bad? Why is it good? Why is it bad?
You said it was bad because it could come off as you're hiding something.
Okay.
Because this day and age, everybody's so public with social media and everything else that if they can't find a single thing, that's gonna be a red flag.
Okay. Oh, I cannot not click on that.
Yeah,
Jody Bowie's phone number, email, and address.
There's one.
Oklahoma City, lived in DeRidder, lived in Kempner, lived in Rose Pine, lived in Bethany. Related to Michelle, the very first thing, guess how old I am? Guess where all the places are that I live? That's my dad, that's my brother, that's my mom, that's my daughter, that's my wife.
I found one of those and I
The
found
age is wrong.
I deleted all of mine. I deleted all of my families.
Those are all that I've lived, by the way. It's kind of creeping me out.
Mine had the exact address on it. It wasn't.
Yeah, if I clicked on it, it's my address. Okay, somebody else. Is it bad? Is it good?
I thought it was bad.
Okay.
You either deleted everything or tried to, or you don't know how to use.
Oh, okay.
new social media.
Yeah, that's a good point. It could come off as you don't know how to use social media. And in this day and age, that's probably an important skill, at least so people know you're not going to do something bad on social media. Transparency, you got to think about transparency. It's okay to have some things out there. You don't have to show everything that you do. In fact, as a teacher, unless you are modeling what 100% transparency looks like, I'd be very careful about that. But yeah. Manuel, were you going to say something? Did you have your hand up?
I was going to say that I have a different opinion.
Okay.
I would say being a bit of an enigma is not necessarily a bad thing.
Yep.
You know, and having nothing is a little bit sketchy, but it will help a little bit. You know, people always want to know more.
Yep. That's a good point. Yeah. So, I mean, we're really playing guess what the employer's thinking. It probably depends on the job. So somebody else, what were your thoughts? Alicia?
Depends on the job.
Okay.
Because right now I'm a barber, and it's really not all that necessary for me
Gotcha.
to be on the internet, but going into graphic design, I probably
Absolutely.
have more, like my portfolio was the very last thing.
Nice.
So
Good point. I just want to point out that I'm on an incognito window and it pulled up my YouTube live stream on the second page from 58 minutes ago. So I feel okay about my brand. I don't see anything on here. Like I'm on Foursquare, I'm on Flickr, Contact Out. I have no idea what that is, but like it's got my email address correct. It's got me on Scratch. This is a review that I left on Goodreads a few weeks ago. Instagram, no idea what that is. So I'm not going to click on that. That's terrifying. Number of kittens. Yeah, I'm not selling any kittens, but it's interesting to look a few pages down to see what's going on, because actually after two pages, it just gets into nonsense because none of these are anything at all related to me.
I mean, it's pretty weird, but it basically just got like my football highlights and that Facebook profile.
There you go.
That's basically it.
But it's got something.
Yeah, it got something on it, but it's not something to everybody because, I mean, if you're on the internet 24/7, people post stuff.
That's true.
So it's like
You have to be purposeful. You should be.
Plus, if you're big enough, someone's gonna look you up.
Yeah.
So,
But I mean, I'm don't consider myself anybody, but all of the things I would want people to see are the things that came up. And probably if you searched for me, you would get these almost identical results. So basically the first 2 pages are good. It's all of my social media stuff that you would, like I linked to it on JBowie or about.me/JBowie. So it's stuff that I want to serve to people, that I want them to see. I'm trying to control my brand mainly for me because like I teach this stuff. So I really kind of need to model that for people. So that's why I talk about 100% transparency. I saw some I don't want everybody to see, I don't want to see people to know that I went to Disney this weekend. Totally get that. You mark that stuff as private. When I put stuff on my YouTube channel, I usually mark it as unlisted so that I get to control who sees what I put out there. So something to think about. But thinking about your brand is a very, very important piece of digital fluency. Thinking about who you are and what other people see, how they see you. You need to be able to control that in some ways. Alicia?
how do you keep some of your personal information, like your address and your phone number, off of the internet?
That's a great question. Like this Spokeo thing, I don't know where they're getting that. A lot of this is public records. This comes from public records. So like you can go to, interestingly enough,
Idea that you'd have to pay for them.
to get it off of there.
No, like to
actually see it.
Oh, I got you. Okay, so let's just follow me here for just a second on this screen up here, if you don't mind. So I'm going to search for Oklahoma County Tax Assessor because I own a home in Oklahoma County. Okay. Search methods. That's the first thing that comes up. Nice. So search the parcel database with current ownership information. Search property records. Let's go with search property records. I'm kind of guessing here, so just bear with me for a second. Search parcel database. Search by name. That's the first thing up there, Jody Bowie. This is a public record. I have no control over this. So let's search Jody and Michelle. Oh, let's go with J. So it's giving me wildcard searches. J Bowie. Nope, still nothing.
Well, you put a percentage sign in there.
Well, that's what it said was a percentage. Wildcard search using percent or only a portion.
Last name first.
Oh, last name first. Thank you. Read, Bowie. Read. J. There we go. Oh, not me, but my son. I think it's because it's in Michelle's name, actually. Let's put it in there. Submit. Bowie, Michelle D, and Jody L. That's got my address right there. So that's a public search. If somebody wanted to find me, they could find me.
That's probably why.
That's absolutely one of the reasons, because this is stuff in public records. So when you verify your identity with the bank or something like that, they'll ask you questions like, which of the following have you ever lived? It's pulling stuff from things like this, like public records. So there's not any way to keep all of your information private. But for instance, if you don't own a home, then you're not going to show up in this search. So that's not a deal. Plus, it took me 4 times to find myself. So if someone doesn't know my wife's name is Michelle and have guessed that her name is first on the home because she had better credit when we bought the house, then it got us a cheaper interest rate. That's the reason. So it takes a little while to find those kind of things, but someone who's persistent can find you. And let me just tell you, from a privacy standpoint, people do things called social engineering, because from the public record search, could someone identify me if they had this information right here? Which of these people have you ever been associated with? All they have to do is look at that right there. Which of these places have you ever lived? Sometimes those are like on 16th Street or on Harrison Street or something like that. So it's a little more difficult, but this is how, like State Farm, every time I log into State Farm, I can choose to verify my identity from information in public records. Someone could literally social engineer their way if they could guess my password, which they can't guess my password for State Farm, because I don't even know what that password is, because it's saved in a program that has one password, so I access all my passwords. But I'm just telling you that if you think that keeping one password for everything is a good idea, if somebody guesses that one password, they can do things like this to social engineer their way into your accounts. I've not had my identity stolen before, and notice I just knocked on wood. But I talked to somebody just last week who, it's a teacher at Bethany. They opened credit cards. They went and bought cell phones. They had the cell phone shipped to her house because they were selling the phone, and they said they would leave it on the porch. During the day, her son came home. There's this package on the porch. He just picks it up and brought it inside. the guy who was buying the phone that they had sold it to, like long drawn out story. The short story is, if you don't think your identity can be stolen, it absolutely can. And being digitally fluent, understanding things like this right here are important. You need to know these kind of things. You need to know that people can do things like social engineering. Like, what's your first dog's name? You know, if you use Mr. French as my very first dog's name, if I use Mr. French as one of my I forgot my password questions, and somebody knew me as a kid, somebody in elementary school with me, they might be able to social engineer their way into one of my accounts. Reset your password. What was your first dog's name? Mr. French. There you go. Now they're resetting my password, getting into my stuff. So something to think about.
I stole my card and forgot.
Yeah.
Literally, and I was like, well, where'd you buy online? I was like, it was at a gas station. It wasn't even online.
Yeah, there you go.
That's the first place she thought.
Yep, those things definitely happen.
I got notified with like 2 hours after I got gas.
Wow. There you go. Okay, so something else in chapter 6 that was sorry, thank you, 7. We kind of went off on a little rabbit trail there, but what else did you see in chapter 7 that you found interesting? Tell me something that your neighbor told you. How about that? Not everybody all at once.
We just talked about the importance of keeping clean social media the workload is major, so we go to the workforce, and you know that they're checking everything that they can.
Yeah, if you don't think that your employers are going to go Google search you, you are wrong, because they are going to go Google search you, I promise. They absolutely will. What else? Okay, it'll be a boring class if you guys don't want to talk. So chapter 8. Talk with your neighbor for the next 4 to 5 minutes about chapter 8. What did you find in there that was interesting, innovative, scary? Not all at once. This is the time when you talk. This is the time when you're earning points for being in class and actively listening, which is very difficult for me to tell if you're actively listening, if you're buried in the screen the whole time. Just FYI, I'm just telling you how it looks from this side of things. So at least talk with your neighbor.
I mean, I read it like I thought about it's kind of like podcasts nowadays are literally news. Not necessarily news, but back in the 20s and stuff when people would listen to the radio, only now you can download it 10 times. So yeah, so it's kind of like that is a traditional source that's done in a new way. And they talk about how it was cheap. And we can start a podcast right now. What we have, it's not going to be like how stuff was produced, but it's a podcast. My mother has a podcast about DVDs and Dungeons and Dragons. And so I don't even make it how we're starting a podcast about Dungeons and Dragons. And they got $20 mics off of Amazon. And they're 19, 20, and 10 years old. So it's just like what we can make it. So you're promoting their name and their software. Like you can see them. You can two of the when I
You
saw
don't have as much.
they start out the podcast talking about the guys they had dated and why their relationship worked out and like the weird stuff that they did. And they've grown, so obviously they only date something guys. Now they're interviewing comedians, they're interviewing people in industries,
I feel like
and all kinds of
YouTube,
so while their podcasts are out
YouTube's the one that gets like YouTube all the time.
and
I wasn't really
I think that goes back into the traditional aspect. Like,
I think they will say down.
But I'm not.
I don't know if they'll
like
say
how it changes
all of them.
because
take
if
down.
you
I feel like they'll take down the ones that.
where you can get actual news and pictures of cats
And they're gonna be like the main.
and the same
They're like
thing,
a
like
two
that's
different-
what you should know. Even 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just came out with it.
You got your news.
There's
either-
this thing.
You got your news
Last week.
as paper.
Are you talking about?
I don't know. I think
One of our-
was already.
I've
They
heard
announced
some.
that they were gonna stop it.
We were-
So,
I'm gonna highlight something.
Right. Well, it's really interesting on the Kindle app. It sometimes you'll have like lines underneath it. It's like 18 people highlighted this passage, and on some of them, like, why'd you guys highlight that? What did it mean to you?
Okay, as the conversation has mostly died down, I would like to hear from you. What did you see? What did your neighbor say? What did you find that was interesting in chapter 8?
Well, we talked about how it was interesting how, like, there's new ways of going about getting journalism, like in online, or like the example I was talking was like the state of the union that's tonight is like on doing like that, like the direction that the journalism is going.
And this, how old is this book? When was this book published?
24. It's relatively new.
Check the copyright. I'm going to say 2009,
2010.
2010. That book's almost 10 years old. He's talking 10 years ago about different forms of media. And within the last 2 to 3 years, we're really seeing a major shift in where we get our news from.
I mean, he referenced MySpace.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that lets you know how old it is, because we're not sitting around learning HTML anymore, although we should be. How to change, put sparkly unicorns in the back of your MySpace page. We've all done it. We haven't done it. Some of you may have done it. May have even been before your time.
I saw there was a tweet. It was like, I wish when somebody clicked on your homepage, they could start playing your favorite song.
Yes,
And then-
I saw that too.
So I was like,
Never heard of MySpace, have you? Yeah. Somebody about this group back here, what was interesting or innovative or stood out to you or terrible?
He was the boss of the media organization, journalists, but things like that.
Because,
So this is
gotcha. Yeah, absolutely. You want your journalism, but you don't market spin on. No offense to the marketing managers in the room. So. Sorry. Guilty as charged. What else?
we talked about startup culture,
Mm-hmm.
which is interesting because this book was written, it wasn't recent. It made me think about YouTubers
Mm-hmm.
and how all of the successful ones are startups,
Absolutely.
and how that kind of relates back to chapter 7, talking about like publishing your own things versus using something like YouTube.
Right.
Like you're also promoting them
Right.
while you're promoting yourself.
Yeah, because what do you get after a YouTube video? A bunch more YouTube videos. You add for the YouTube video, and you get a bunch more YouTube videos. Absolutely.
I know when you start out, it's not just you using YouTube now. When you get like pretty big, like depending on what you produce is what sponsor you. So
Mm-hmm.
there's like a YouTube channel called RDC World, and they make like skits, like cartoon skits and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. And they end up getting sponsored by Crunchyroll.
Mm-hmm.
And then they end up doing something called like a spot. It's like it starts from there. They just go was up. So
Absolutely. All of my daughter used to, maybe she still does watch, she watches it on Instagram now, but, people who are doing makeup tutorials and they're sending them free makeup, they're sending them money, based on how many followers they have. If you got 11 million followers, and you're doing makeup tutorials, that's probably a pretty good place, to spend your marketing money rather than spending a bunch of money to make a commercial. You got to think about who your target audience is. Do you want the middle school girls, or do you want the 70-year-old grandmother that's sitting at home staring at Fox News all the time?
more like the
No
high
offense to Fox
school- more
News.
like the high school.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because those are people that
Absolutely.
Well, that kind of ties in back to journalism itself. If you are making your own content, YouTube, blogging, or whatever, you come with your own biases, but you aren't biased from like CNN and Fox News. They have their own biases, so no matter what you write, it's going to be somewhat biased. So when you start to make it big, YouTube can demonetize you based on your content. You're a sponsor. You might lose sponsorships because of what you publish. So that could also influence what you're actually going to publish.
So if they demonetize you, is that censorship or not? Yes. Because why? Why do you say yes?
I mean, the concept of censorship is taking away someone's voice when they say certain words, essentially, and you're taking away someone's monetization because they say certain words.
So how does that play with free speech?
So, and that's what I was about to say. You're almost taking freedom of speech.
They can
I
still
mean,
speak.
on that site though.
Say that
Not
again.
On that site though.
Okay.
Not on your personal site.
Right.
You don't have to use their free
That's true.
that they give, like you use.
Yeah, that's the thing about YouTube that you have to remember is every time you use YouTube, you are agreeing to their terms of service. Whether you read it or not, when you opened your YouTube channel, you had to click, I agree to the YouTube terms of service before you could start producing content. So they have the right to do that. Philosophically, we could talk about censorship and freedom of speech and things like that. But the bottom line is you agreed to the terms of service. So if you spew hate speech or if you open things like Pizzagate with InfoWars and Alex Jones and all that craziness, and people are doing death threats because of towards people who their kids were killed in Sandy Hook. Thank you. I wanted to say Shady Grove. I knew that was wrong. In Sandy Hook, and because they're listening to you, then that's considered hate speech, and they're gonna pull the plug on you. So go ahead, Cory.
Demonetization that just affects like their ad revenue.
Right.
So they're not
Actually shutting you down. Yeah.
You're just not getting paid for it
Right.
from that site.
Right.
From your views.
So maybe you're less motivated to put information on there or something. Or maybe you can't afford to at that point. I don't know.
A lot of YouTubers are switching to Twitch now.
Mhm.
We're doing both. Because I know some of the YouTubers I follow, like true crime or like conspiracy theories, they are like, my video got demonetized because I said this.
Oh, gotcha.
And so, or like information for news people, the same thing.
Yep.
And can that happen because you posted it on YouTube and you didn't publish it yourself, so they can stop giving you money from your views?
Yeah, because like you're running it through their servers. So, I mean, it's an intellectual property question, I guess, but
So
it's going through theirs. Yeah. I mean, you still own it. You can still download it, but you've put a copy of it on there, and they're the ones who are actually broadcasting it for you. So yeah, I think that's right. Honestly, I've not read YouTube's terms of service very carefully. And I'll just say right now, I've downloaded YouTube videos illegally, because if you don't own the YouTube video, you're violating YouTube's terms of service if you download that YouTube video. So if you've ever gone to YouTube to mp4.com or YouTubedownloader.com or any of the myriad numbers of put the address in here and we'll give you the YouTube video, you've violated YouTube's terms of service. So I'm sorry, YouTube, if you're listening, FBI guy, yes, I've done it. for, the people, there's nobody there. I don't care. Just the FBI guys watching. Hey, FBI guy. So, do what?
The NSA, not FBI.
Oh, NSA. No, I don't know.
NSA cries. And you were
Yeah.
talking about-
Oh, the NSA, like legit. I'm pretty sure the NSA, I joke about the FBI guy because that's what people say on Reddit, but NSA legitimately, I mean, if I started talking terrorism and stuff like that, yeah, yep. That little green light would go off. So they would just take over my computer. Somebody else, something in chapter 8 that was meaningful to you.
Section on the startup culture.
Mm-hmm.
It made me thinking, especially on the risk part. It made me think of like, well, for example, when Mark Zuckerberg started Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
he was taking a huge risk.
Yes, he was.
He didn't know if it was going to be an epic fail or if it was going to be successful like it is now, or really anybody.
Yeah.
When you do anything, and it could fail or it could be.
Absolutely. One of the things that I saw, let me put this up here. One of the things that I saw was this quiz. In digital media, the cost of trying new ideas is heading towards zero. I'm trying a new idea tonight. I'm trying YouTube Live. I've never done that. How much money do I spend to try YouTube Live? Zilch. The computer I already had, it's got a built-in camera. It's got a built-in microphone. Even if I went and bought this, I could build my brand on YouTube for less than $1,000 for this computer. And then all I'd have to pay for is the electricity and the broadband to put it out there. So it has approached zero. And for many people, you said your brother has a D&D podcast, and how much did he spend on a microphone?
Like $15, $20.
Yeah. And you can get a pretty nice microphone for $20 off Amazon. That will work a whole lot better than what this one works. That camera right there, we broadcast out of here. We have a ministry class that the Church of the Nazarene district uses, and it costs $0 for them to come in here and broadcast ministry classes out to rural pastors. So we're maybe not producing content because it's not recorded, but we're broadcasting content. You could be the next Alex Jones with a $300 Chromebook. It's got a YouTube app on it. So for $300, I could go buy a Chromebook and go sit at Starbucks with free Wi-Fi, or McDonald's, or the public library, or you name it, wherever else there's free Wi-Fi. Literally for $300, I could be broadcasting. That's ridiculous. I mean, $300 is a lot of money, but it's not that much money. You go give plasma like 5 times, you got $300. You're good to go. I know college students. I was a college student. I got tracks in my arms from giving plasma. It's only from giving plasma, okay? There's not tracks for any other reason. There's not really tracks. I'm just kidding. Okay, chapter 9. Talk with your neighbor for the next few minutes. What in chapter 9 was interesting, innovative, scary, or otherwise? Now is the time for you to talk. Yeah, it does part 3, and I apologize that we kind of split it up like that.
Laws and norms, so like privacy, copyright. So here's a deepfake.
I watched a TV show.
I'll show you some videos.
We're not going to search for it.
No, not like that kind of deepfake.
Oh, deep fake. Oh, yes. I just listened to a podcast about that last night.
What do you think I said?
I thought you said beefcake.
Oh.
That's like naked men, like strong, muscular naked men.
So that's Steve Buscemi's voice. That's Jennifer Lawrence. And then there, I'll quote Shane Dawson's video because he had some really good ones. Yeah. So
So just one section here.
That's an actress.
It says freedom to think or who owns your
And then
identity.
they Hillary Clinton based on so that was like and so there's nothing in the law about that. So there let me pull
Oh, it's a thing. Yeah.
and some people are using it for like pornography. but-
Like revenge porn,
Yeah.
except they're just putting somebody's face on they go get a porn video and they go get somebody's face and they put that person's face in the video.
Yeah.
And there's a computer program that takes care of all of it by itself. It does it automatically. Very, very limited Photoshop knowledge. But this business with basically the way the guy explained it. So what we're talking about is called deep fake. And this guy was talking about taking famous people, like he took this very left-wing liberal feminist lady's face and put it into a Stormy Daniels video. And so what he does is he has this app that he's built, and it takes the video and he uploads several images of Stormy Daniels' face, and it goes through the video and looks for each individual still frame of all of her face, and it like maps her face. And then he gets a database of the images of the left-wing feminist lady and puts that into his database, and it takes her face and puts it into the video frame by frame. So there's no person sitting there like photoshopping, but it's basically automatic Photoshop on every individual frame of video. So never believe anything that you see online. Never. I've got video of it. Doesn't matter. Does not matter. It could have been digitally altered. There are way too many automatic apps. There are way too much technology right now for you to believe anything that you ever see online, ever. Just saying. You got to be cautious. If you see one thing that shows something, don't believe it. If you see two things, maybe. If you see 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 things, okay, now we're getting where I might be able to believe this, especially in a very short amount of time, because the way this guy described it is, and this guy was crazy. I do not recommend, well, I mean, it's worth knowing, honestly, from a digital fluency perspective, this is worth knowing, because there are people out there who they believe a picture, no less a video of something. Oh yeah, no, that happened. Oh, she was in like a porno video or whatever. No, that was not her. So anyway, I've gotten off. Wow, that escalated quickly. I apologize. But it really is, from a digital fluency perspective, is worth knowing. From an information fluency perspective, it's worth knowing. You have got to look at multiple sources for anything that you see online, anything, no matter what. So that was an example. I'm not talking about should you go see if this person did a porn video. I'm talking about that was an example of what can happen and what people do. And the guy admitted to doing it and told exactly how he did it, told where his app is, told where you could get a copy of it, all of it. So you just really have to be very, very, very skeptical of anything online, no matter what. You have to. Okay, wow, that went down a trail that I did not expect. What else did you see in chapter 9?
Talking about like you can own the hardware of your phone or like device, but you don't own like the rights to change the software.
That's correct. And this is 10 years ago. And we all know that for long, you will not be able to do anything to your iPhone if you even can now. There are like, who has the stuff to take apart a glass case anymore? It's one thing I've taken off the front of an iPad and replaced that before, but I don't know where to get the stuff to split this. It's glass in the front and glass in the back. The back of the phone is also glass. So how do I take that apart? Yeah. So I know there are people that can do that, but it's becoming increasingly more difficult to work on your own stuff. There's a whole thing. Did he mention the John Deere? I can't remember. There's a deal in Canada where John Deere owners, they spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on a tractor. They're not allowed to manipulate the software that makes the tractor run. Only John Deere can do that. Only a company representative can work on that. I mean, where does that leave you? If I own this, I bought this, and you're telling me I can't work on it? That's not how I grew up. This is mine. I can do whatever I want to this. Where does that leave you if you can't fix your own stuff? Like, we're trying to raise a generation of makers and tinkerers and fixers because we've lost that ability. We live in such a consumerist society. Every 18 months, they want me to trade this thing in. Well, where is it going to go after I trade it in? Somebody's going to throw it in a landfill. It's got platinum and gold and all kinds of heavy metals and stuff in there. Is it just going to go in the landfill?
If you refurbish it in a third world country.
Exactly. But then where do those phones go that they have? So we're just such a consumerist society, and like it or not, the goal of capitalism is to get you to buy something. So without being too much of a Marxist, I just listened to a podcast on the way home from class last night about Marxism, capitalism versus communism. It's very interesting. So without being too much of a Marxist and y'all all going and telling, everybody at school that I'm a communist, the goal of capitalism is to get you to buy something else. The goal of capitalism is to make more money, period. So wow, I got way off on something else and I apologize. Do you really own this if you can't work on it? I mean, it's a philosophical question, but it's a question worth asking. It's a question that he brought up 10 years ago, and now we're really, really seeing that come to fruition, because 10 years ago, I could pop my palm apart. I can't even remember what palm it was that I had. Palm Pilot, but anyway. I mean, they have a paid version now, like YouTube Red, YouTube TV, they have a paid version for sure. So exactly. That comes up as an option to, rent a movie on YouTube. Who knew?
With the buying stuff, we had to get a new home computer because her Macintosh just didn't understand the iPhone.
Couldn't talk to it.
Yeah, so it'll get updated for that. And so stops making.
Yep. We have iPads here in the education department that cannot be updated anymore. They can't. They're like 4 OSs ago, iOS. And so you can't download any kind of new app to it. So there's not a whole lot you can do. Chunk. They have engineered it out of existence. So now we have this waste. What are we going to do with that? Just think about it from an environmental perspective. I always have to go to the environmental part. I'm a little bit of a tree hugger. So recycle. Don't throw your phones in the landfill. What else? Anything else from chapter 9? I know we switched kind of to a whole different idea here, but
going on the theme of the chapter and that, a little while ago, the FBI had some guy and he had his phone.
Yes.
And Apple wouldn't unlock the phone.
Right. That's
so
correct.
They couldn't do it.
Yep.
Not that, they could do it, but they wouldn't.
They wouldn't do it. Yep.
Even though there's that thing you can go on FaceTime. I remember it was an app that it was on the news. It was like you could call someone and go up, do something, and you can.
Oh yeah.
You can watch them. It's like if you can do that, imagine if imagine if you know how you get them called, but they have to hang up.
Mm-hmm.
that can just be some.
That's Facebook calling me to listen so they know when to send me an ad for an air fryer. So
But that's like, what if like something, that's like basically saying like the government, anybody can call and up and basically doing your privacy you want to know. Like you just think it's just a female number.
oh yeah. Yep, absolutely. The technology's there to work backwards on it for sure.
And that was also mentioned in Shane Dawson's conspiracy.
There you go. This kind of ceases to be a conspiracy theory when it actually happens, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the whole like conspiracy theory has that negative connotation to it.
Yeah.
But it's really just, I mean, some of them are just theories, and some of it's just critical thinking.
I mean, that's an information literacy piece, information fluency. You know, what do you believe? What do you not believe? Mr. Brooks, I saw that hand a minute ago.
Oh, on chapter 9, the idea of the information is really interesting. Like, that is what it's alarm bell. Especially if you think about all the ways that people are talking about the current president online, like what falls into slander and defamation.
Absolutely.
Especially when it's like well, and that's like intervention, you know, like laws about stuff, you know, at what point does that hinder free speech, you know, all those things.
Yeah, man. Legislative morality. Just living, that's what's happening.
That's what the church says.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Now, a lot of things don't have laws against them and stuff because they're coming so fast. Fast when we make laws.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. If you are only considering what's legal when you talk about things like copyright and Creative Commons and things like that, that's the bare minimum. We as Christians, we as good people, as moral people, should look beyond the law. That's the bare minimum. That's what's keeping you out of prison. Is that really the bar that you want to set for yourself? Probably not. So it is worth mentioning, and we'll hopefully come back to this later on in the semester. I just talked last week in Ed Tech about copyright, this idea of fair use. Fair use is a doctrine, not a law. Would it be legal for me to go and take this book right here? Okay. Not this book. That's a bad example. He gave that for free on the internet. So I don't have a book. Somebody have a textbook with you? Could I go and copy, could I go and copy a chapter of that textbook and like scan it and put it online for you? How about that one? Emmanuel, what book is that? Surprised by Hope. And so could I go and scan that book, like a chapter out of that book, and put it online? Would that be legal for me to do that? Why would it not be legal? What do you think? Talk with your neighbor. Tell me why it would not be legal or why it would be legal. The law, capital T, capital L, the law. Like God's law. He said, do not steal.
For the class.
Just because it's for education. doesn't
Oh.
mean it's right.
Okay, so we'll make this a whole class discussion instead of a small group discussion. So Emmanuel says because the law about things that are good and things that are bad says not to do it. I don't know exactly where that's at in the U.S. Code, but I'm sure that there's a number. Janae says that I could because I'm using it for education, which Janae is assuming because I'm a teacher that I would only do that for education. She knows that I would not do that for any other reason because probably I'm thinking about education about 98.9% of the time anyway, which is true. And that's true. And that's also true. So somebody else, yes, legal, no, not legal.
Violate the United States Copyright Act.
Okay. Of what year? Like 75 or something like that.
75 something.
Yeah. What is copyright law? Like go ahead, Corey.
It's very, it's hard to explain.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Law, I took a class on it for the copyright specifically in films and how they determine what you can copyright and can copyright storylines, or do you like break it down by element? And the way they do it now is like a judge will break it down by, you have this element and this element, and you can't copyright an element, so you can't, in any case, like Kurt Walker was up for one, and Avatar was another.
Avatar is just a retelling of Pocahontas.
Yeah, well, there was a screenplay that was like published and someone had done, and it was very similar. And I forget what the question was, but it's.
Oh, it's okay. What is copyright? So like the law on copyright. So what's the book that you have, Mr. Brooks? Surprised by, oh, there it is. FBI guys, listen. Slow on the uptake though. It's three down. So I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. Surprised by hope. Oh, okay. This is a group Bible study by Right. And this is from, when was this book written? I'm sure I could have just asked you to look and see, but Amazon, lovely Amazon. Ooh, Kindle for free? Oh, $10. Okay. So this is from what year? Okay, this is from 2009. So when will this book go into what's called the public domain?
100 years after the author dies.
There you go. Author's death plus 100. So that book will be sold. Somebody will make money off of that. So was it N.T. Wright that wrote it? Is that who it's about? Or okay, is N.T. Wright still alive? And how long do you think he's going to live? He's 70. Okay, I appreciate that you all are using the resources at hand to quickly find information. Why would we ever need to memorize those things? I don't need to memorize when his birthday is. It's just in time information, just FYI. Digital fluency, information fluency. Can you find N.T. Wright's age? Yes, you can, with about a 1-second Google search. So he's 70. Let's say that he lives to be 90. That's another 20 years. So that means that for another 120 years, you won't be able to get this book for free. But after that time, then it goes into the public domain, unless they change copyright again, because it used to be like published plus 25. And then it became published plus 75. And then they changed it to author's death plus 75. And then now it's author's death plus 100. So like I can go and get Treasure Island free because that's in the public domain. Because Robert Louis Stevenson, I know he's been dead over 100 years, but it was in the public domain long before that. Because the copyright law was different. Why in the world would Disney do that? They got to keep making money off of that. I mean, Snow White's like 80 years old or something like that, 70 years old. So they want to keep being able to make money. Do you think they have money to pay a lawyer to go and like lobby with a senator to pass that bill? Yeah. Capitalism, money. It's all comes back to money. All of it comes back to money. So there are a lot of things in chapter 9, actually. Sorry, the liberty leading her people is what some people might consider obscene, and it keeps popping up there in my background. Sorry about that. So there's a lot of, so the idea of fair use. So let's talk about the fair use doctrine, because you probably don't know anything about the fair use doctrine. So the fair use doctrine is something that we use a lot in education. And the doctrine asks questions like, what's the purpose of you copying that? Could I go copy that? I could go copy that if I were using it for an educational purpose, such as critique, satire, parody, something like that. If I'm using it in a classroom, just because I'm using it in a classroom doesn't mean that I could do that. because am I taking out so much of that book that I am taking the author's ability away to make money? What does my copying that do to the market? What does my copying that do to the original work? Is it a song? Am I posting it online? Am I copying it and like printing out copies of, like, there's all of these questions to ask. And I'm not trying to teach you about fair use. Corey just said she took a whole class on copyright. So I could spend I've done a 1 hour session just on fair use and the Teach Act and copyright. So there's a lot there, but you need to be aware of that. What about Creative Commons? Did we talk about Creative Commons the other week? What is Creative Commons? An organization that helps people create and use material under a system that shares the creator's rights with the general public in ways that promote further creative development. Let's go back to my website, profedtech.me. Right here at the bottom, what do you see? This website is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution Share Alike. And I have a very specific image right there. Use those words. If somebody takes something off of my website, what do I want them to do?
Credit.
And so that's the attribution piece. I want them to give credit to me,
Share.
and I want them to also
Share where they
I want them also to share in the same exact way. I want to share alike. I want you to use my stuff in the same way that I did it. Now, I could change that. Wix, where I built the website, has a way that I can just say, this is copyrighted, Jody Bowie, 2019, all rights reserved. And you would not be allowed to copy anything off of here. How many of you, let's be honest, how many of you have ever gone to Google search and you've searched for, somebody tell me, I'm going to do a live Google search in class, and I'm going to let you tell me what to search. So tell me an image that you searched for a presentation recently.
Shane Dawson.
I'm not searching Shane Dawson. What? Frog? Frog? Fraud. Frog? Fraud. Frog? Okay, we're on the same page. So I'm going to click image results, and I want this laughing frog right here because he's so cute from Live Science. And so I will, what would you do? What would you do now? So I've found my image.
Right click. Save
Right click.
image, or copy.
Save image as.
Yeah.
You click that. Choose the document name.
Okay. And now I've saved the web page, which is not good, but what does that say right
Maybe
there?
subject copyright.
1,333 by 1,000.
Maybe. How would I know if it is?
Go to the actual website.
I could actually go to the website, to livescience.com, frog swallowing snake photo. Snake head pops out of frog's maw in mesmerizing photo. This sounds terrifying. Don't look. Trigger warning. Yeah, that's not even there. From WTF. Okay, great. Yeah, this is super. We did a great job in searching for this. Thank you, Mr. Brooks. It's terrifying. So
is it still okay?
absolutely. Oh, see you. Do I have a choice? I'm sorry. I should not have said that out loud. What else could I do here, though? What other options do you see? I know that's small, and I'm sorry. What other options do you see here for me using this image? Some of you have had me for ed tech, so this is a test for you. Okay, search Google for the image.
Right below copy image address.
Copy image address? What does that mean?
It means that you'll copy the address.
Copy the address. So I'm going to get the URL of the image, and I'm going to go over here and I'm going to paste, and let's see if I get an image. I got the image. Yes. So I go to my Google Slides or my PowerPoint or whatever, Can I insert an image from a URL? Yes, I can. Have I downloaded this image?
No.
Have I ever made a copy of that image? If I haven't made a copy of it, am I violating the copyright? Maybe. Am I affecting the market of this image being sold? No. Because if I insert that into my slideshow from a URL, as long as the image exists online, my slideshow is always going to have that image. The only problem with that is if that image ever goes away, then it also goes away from my slideshow because it's live. If I download this image, if I save this image, unless I'm 100% sure that I have this kind of copyright right here, Creative Commons, I could be violating copyright. And the copyright police, I'm sure, will break the door down in my classroom. They'll haul me away in handcuffs and shame in front of all of my students. That probably would happen, right? Wrong. It's probably not ever going to happen. Yeah, I know. You're disappointed. Gosh, I wanted to see that happen. Let me just take this one step further. How would might I be able to use the tools image, the tools button, and choose labeled for reuse, labeled for non-commercial reuse, labeled for non-commercial reuse with modification. So let's just click labeled for reuse. Oh, that image is gone, but look at all these other images that I have. Commons.wikimedia.org, Wikipedia, Pixabay. Pixabay is a great place to find a lot of images. That is not an image that I would put up there at all. But here's an image that I might put up there. Whew, that was close. Here's an image that I could use. There's a great frog right there. It may be subject to copyright, but it says right here, free download. So I could actually save image as there, but probably what should I do when I put it on my slideshow?
Give right.
Yeah, I should give credit. Please, after reading this class, don't ever use an image again that you don't give credit for. Even if you took the picture, give yourself credit. Why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you let somebody know, look at this awesome picture I took? If I took that picture of that frog, oops. If I took that picture of that frog, I want credit to myself because that's a pretty cool image. So that's just me. Okay. So, we can talk a lot about copyright and things like that. And there are a lot of things in here that I would encourage you to look into, like the Electronic Frontiers Foundation. I would absolutely, probably the most important thing in this whole chapter is Creative Commons. You need to know about Creative Commons. You need to know how to search. What if I just went and searched Creative Commons? What would that do? I bet it would take me to creativecommons.org. creativecommons.org. Did you notice that I used a book that was freely available from the author? Was provided for free. We are using a Scratch curriculum that's provided by MIT for free. I'm all about free, open resources that don't cost anything. There's a lot of things you can do with stuff online illegally by getting it for free. I could do a screencast and capture video offline. And then I could have like an apple pie, a Raspberry Pi, and have a server in my house and put videos on there and serve it up on the internet. That's illegal, but I could do it for free for just a little bit of money and hardware. Creative Commons is a place where you can go and learn about Creative Commons, but it's also a place where you can find things. If your brother's a podcaster, he should check out ccmixter.org. If you go to Use and Remix and you search places, you search for, search the Commons. So I'm going to search for podcast music. Okay. I'm going to search for podcast music and lead you to the water, but I cannot dunk your head under. And CC Mixter right here. And if I go to CC Mixter, there are millions of mixes, millions of things. It's original music that people provide for free. And they have varying ways of sharing that. Varying ways of sharing that. You may have to, you just have to give attribution for this one. And I can tell that by looking right there, and it says buy, and it says attribution 3.0. So I could download this and use it for any video that I wanted to post online, and all I need to do is in my notes, I need to give credit to this person. There is a ton of stuff on here. You could go down a lot of rabbit holes, clearly a lot of rabbit holes, no pun intended, and find all kinds of music. Lots of people put their stuff out there. You can find stuff to listen to. You can find stuff to post. It's called CC Mixter, and it's a great place to download, sample, cut up, and share. So something to think about. Anything else about chapter 8 that you want to mention before we move on? Chapter 9 that you want to mention? I am just a chapter behind all night. Yikes. Okay, let's move on. So we talked a bit longer about that than I thought we would, which is not a bad thing. So let's go to our, let's go over here. He told me he wasn't calling me until 7:30 my time. Can't talk to you, buddy. Let's go to week 5 and yeah, 10 we're good. Okay. I'll just leave that music on quietly. And so talk to me about Scratch. What are you learning on Scratch? I'm enjoying your videos. I appreciate the screencast. However, if you post, screenshots, if you post a screenshot as your evidence for completing, give me a little bit of narrative with that as well. Okay. You're not doing a video where you're talking. Number one, if you are doing video where you're talking, don't do video where you're working. Do video where you're showing what you've done. Okay. I don't want to see you dragging blocks of code around. That's not showing me that you know what you're doing. I want to see what you made happen. Show me a video of what your project does. You can show me the code. You can say I moved this around or that around, but I don't just want a video of you sitting there like working on it. That's not what we want. Number one, I don't want to watch a 2-hour video, and nobody submitted a 2-hour video, but I do expect that you're working on this more than 15 minutes a week. So if you're just getting a 15-minute video of you working on it, how do I know that you worked longer than 15 minutes is my point, okay? So just remember, you're supposed to provide evidence that you have done the activities. Screenshots are a piece of that evidence. Just give me a little bit of narrative with it as well, like write a little something that answers questions like these right here. What skills are you practicing? What are you learning? Maybe tell me, is it too simple? Is it too hard? You know, the relevancy piece, you're going to have to figure that out for yourself, because honestly, you're going to build something before the end of this course. It's an independent project that you'll work on your own. And my expectation is there will be multiple pieces of that you use Scratch for, okay? So I don't want you to think about that right now. I just want you to know that we're not just doing this just to be doing it. We're doing this because we're going to use it later, okay? So what are you learning? What skills are you practicing? What tell me about Scratch. Like, what is something that you learned in Scratch this week? Okay, so yeah, just using the image editor on there, and I recognize, okay, I recognize that the pictures that you see in the book don't look exactly the same because it's Scratch 3.0, and I apologize for that. They kind of dropped that bomb on me just before the semester started. It's a little too late for me to switch gears. So I apologize for that. I apologize for the frustration that probably causes. You just do the best you can. Email me. I'll make a video and show you how to do something. Okay.
I have questions because I said because it didn't show me exactly how to do it.
Okay.
It was close enough.
Right.
And I could find the block that wasn't there anymore.
Good.
Place it was.
Good.
I'm gonna figure out how to work around it.
It probably is important to recognize, and this is in no way, shape, or fashion. I'm not saying anything about anybody's intelligence or anything like that. But this obviously was designed for elementary students. So if you if you get on and spend time on it, okay, the amount that you learn is directly proportional to the amount of time that you spend working, not just looking, but actually working on it. Okay. So remember, you have a teacher's workbook and you also have a learner's workbook. There may be information in the teacher's workbook that's helpful, but you actually got to look at the activities and read what's supposed to be happening. Okay.
Does the teacher work giving answers because the
Ish, yeah. I mean, well, so in the studio, you can go to the studios that are linked in the teacher workbook and look at what other people have done to make things happen. Because the thing about this is it's kind of like a literature question. You may interpret something one way and I may interpret it a different way. So we may solve the same problem in two different ways. So while there's not one single right answer to all of these things that they're having you do. On the debug things, okay, there's a problem. It's supposed to do this. There's one way to do that. It's okay. That's all right. It is totally okay. It's not a problem. You just have to work at it. And if you don't finish it, it is okay. We're failing forward. Okay. Like if you've never heard that concept, that's what this is about. And those of you that are going to be teachers, as a teacher, my teaching philosophy is not that I am the smartest person in the room. The smartest person in the room is the room. Okay. So we work together to learn things. I am a co-learner with you, just FYI. Okay. I'm a co-learner. So I may not know the answer to what you're doing, but I can look at it. We can work together and probably figure it out. So.
Going along with that, I know the debuggings are really simple. It takes me like less than a minute to figure out what's wrong. On this lesson, on 2.4, I had trouble with it, and I tried like several different things. I was like, I am not getting it. And I remember what you said about Franken scripting. So I literally typed in 2.4 remixes and looked at other people's codes to figure out what had went wrong. And I realized I didn't know how to use the operation. In the operation, it was wrong with it.
Got it.
But I wouldn't have figured that out.
Okay, so I want to point out what she just said. She tried first, then she Googled the answer. Okay, so you try first. If you can't figure it out, there's something to be said for tenacity as a student. Okay, that is a digital skill that we don't teach very well. But tenacity is something that I really hope that you're developing or at least practicing while you're doing this. It's called stick-to-itiveness is something that I used to say to my kids when they were younger. You can't just go, well, I would have students in my class and we would talk about a physics problem and they would go, Mr. Bowie, this is just too much. They'd give up before they even got started. Look at one piece at a time. Break it down into small chunks. Go Frankenscript and see if you can find something that does what you want to happen and mix that with something else. It's a whole remix culture. I mean, even over here on CC Mixter, it's all about the remix. even on Scratch, it says remix this, right? So it's all about the remix culture. So those are actually digital skills. It talks about that specifically in the Society of Technology and Education Standards, which is kind of what I live my life by. That's my mantras. Maybe one more person talk to me. Sure. Yes. Okay. Okay, so I will just say that you should consider putting a loop around that. So a loop, there's two different kinds of loops. One is it says forever, and the other one says this many times, where you can change that number. So that's something in, if you think about breaking things down into small pieces, the first night of class, when I said you could have an algorithm for open the door, that's like, keep moving your arm until something happens. So that's another kind of a loop. Like if this happens, then stop that loop. But in this case, if you want it to move 10 steps, make it do something and have it do that thing 10 times. So it's the yellow loop that goes around it. Good question. And they may not. They may have like 10 blocks of move one step, where you start it like so. For instance, when you guys said walk 10 steps, it was walk 10 steps. It wasn't walk one step and then start the program over and walk one step and start the program over. So you want your event to set whatever's going to happen in motion and then just walk away from it. You want it to kind of be like, that's something you want to work towards. I'm not saying you can just do that. That's an idea that you want to work towards, is how can I automate this from this point on? It's kind of the idea. So good question. A loop is your answer though, for that specifically. Okay. Anything else about Scratch that you want to mention, ask, questions, or anything like that?
Sometimes with this right, I'll do an action, like sometimes I'll do a hide or something, and it'll go away, even though I delete hide or restart whatever, it disappears. And I have no idea how to get them back.
One thing that you can, like, to get them to come back is you have to tell them to show again. So just put a show block in there, like click on that sprite down here, select it, put a show block, and then like double click the show block and it should come back.
Okay.
So the thing, you always have to remember that it will do exactly what you tell it to do. And if you have told it to do something, it's not going to do that. But if you have told it to do something, it will do that until you tell it to do something different. Good question. Anything else? I'm enjoying watching your videos. I particularly enjoy videos when you show me what you've been doing. I really do like that. As a teacher, that's fulfilling. So if you're doing videos, good. I'm a little behind on grading right now. Last week really got away from me. But I do plan to get caught up this week. So look for my comments, okay? When you go back in and look at the assignment, you should see my comments there. I won't always leave a comment, but I will always mark a rubric if there's a rubric to be marked, okay? So be sure that you either look at the rubric, especially if there are points taken off, look at the rubric and see what you missed points on. Because you're earning points. I'm not awarding points for anything. I was very disappointed nobody chose the extra credit. Very disappointed. Nobody chose the extra credit. It's all good. Okay, research article summary number 2. Remember, on the research article, you have to include a copy of your article. How do you include a copy of an article if you can't download a PDF? No, even better. Control or Command P. Look right here in the center of the screen. Right there, it says save as a PDF. I can print this whole page. I can print a document. I can print a website. I can print a picture. I can print anything I want as a PDF. Anything as a PDF. Okay. So you have the ability to submit multiple times. I see clearly at the top, submission 1, submission 2, submission 3, whatever. So if you need to submit your summary first, then submit a PDF of your article. Give me a PDF of your article. That is the best way to do it. Yes, sir.
So I submitted, just going like this, I submitted all my screenshots and the Google Drive video saying submission.
No problem.
Did that, okay.
I haven't looked at it yet. I don't know, but it's not a
But
problem.
It should.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. The thing to remember, if you're submitting video, how do you always submit video?
Embed.
Always a link or embed. Always a link. It will automatically make it embedded, actually, if you submit me a link. But the best thing to do is to make it a link that I click on. Okay? That's the best thing. I don't necessarily mind copying and pasting, but I'm lazy. So if you can make it into, I don't know how to make it into a link, do a Google search. There's a 6th grader that's made a video about how to make something into a hyperlink. Okay, I promise. If you graduate from this class, if you pass this class and you can't make something into a hyperlink, I have failed you. Actually, if there's anything that you can't do, because you should be able to find anything after you've practiced in this class. You really should. Even if I've just empowered you to search for a 6th grader's video, you should be able to do that. I promise you. I'm kind of teasing about the 6th grader's video. Okay, let's look and see here specifically. Characters, don't just recycle the same stuff. If you just use a character that you created before, have you learned how to do something new? No, you have not. So make something new, please.
With Scratch, I keep noticing you keep adding new characters. Is that just because you work more on it, or is it just because you're adding new characters?
Like they're putting new things into the bank, or it's
Yeah.
showing, oh, okay.
It's like putting new things in the bank, like
Nice.
there are times where it's just like these 4 characters, and then I come back and there's 3 new characters.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so when you go to create a character, remember that it doesn't have to be a complex dragon with all of the scales on its back. It could be a circle with 2 upside down triangles and 2 more upside down triangles and a little head on top. That's a character, right? I can't remember exactly what it says about creating a character, but I'm just saying you could take that and have make a bunch of copies of it. And then all the copies would be your different costumes that you could then move the arms a little bit and animate your little circle and triangle guy. And it would be, I mean, it's too easy. You could take a picture of your face and cut this part right here and move it down and make a copy of that. And then you've got a triangle, or you've got a costume, and you move your costume back and forth and it animates your mouth. There's all kinds of things you can do with this. Just remember, if you're putting something in, you want to put it in as a PNG so that you can have that transparent background. Okay. And I link to you on, I give you a link to, now that you know exactly where I live, where to get my phone number, all the places I've ever lived before, how to contact me on any social media. I'm kidding. You don't have to. I'm not so self-centered that I think you would ask me questions about that. I'm being facetious. But seriously, what questions do you have about anything related to the course? Go look on Canvas and see the thing that you have or have not turned in. I'm being very gracious these first few weeks about lab work. I'm basically, for the most part, removing the late penalty. As we move beyond this week, that is going to go away. So the grace for just late work because I couldn't figure it out, like going forward, we're going to be past that. I'll still continue with grace for these first few things, but like we can't get to midterm and you're still working on stuff in the second week. So, all right. Have a good day. You should be working on the assignments at the bottom of week 5. Research article summary number 2. Please submit your PDF and your summary. The midterm in here is a writing assignment, if I recall. Let me look.
Like a reflection, right?
I think so, yeah.
An essay done in class?
No, an essay done out of class. We won't do a midterm in class. It'll be something you'll do out of class, and in fact, I'll probably give you class time, out of class time to do it. So it'll be like, we won't have class that week and you'll work on your midterm.
All right.
Yeah, midterm reflection. It's there. I just don't know that you can see it yet.
Thank you.
You're welcome. See you later. Maybe you can see that. I don't have it where you can't see it. Interesting.
So we can go ahead and do our midterm.
I guess